What if the one thing you trust the most is the very thing destroying you? Desire. It feels like purpose. It sounds like motivation. It disguises itself as love, ambition, freedom. But beneath the surface, it's something far more dangerous. Desire is the most seductive lie in the human psyche. It whispers in the voice of promise, paints illusions in the mind, and wraps itself in the language of becoming. It tells you, once you have this, once you become that, then you'll finally be whole. But what if that voice is the prison? Here's the chilling truth. Desire doesn't liberate you. It binds you. Not because wanting is wrong, but because wanting never ends. This isn't philosophy. It's neuroscience. It's Buddhist psychology. It's the engine of human suffering hidden in plain sight. We are not designed to be satisfied. We are designed to crave, to chase, to want, even if it kills us. And until you see the illusion, it already owns you. Stay with me, because by the end, you may never look at your desires the same way again. You might think you crave the thing itself, the partner, the money, the applause, the destination. But the truth is far more unsettling. Desire has nothing to do with having. It lives and dies in the wanting. And the root of that wanting lies not in your heart, nor your soul, nor the world, but in your brain, specifically in the dopaminergic system, the neural engine that doesn't care if your dreams come true, only that you keep chasing them. Contrary to popular belief, dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure. That's a dangerous misconception. Dopamine is the molecule of anticipation, motivation, and pursuit. It's the spark that drives you toward the reward, but it disappears when the reward is finally attained. In the lab, scientists discovered something disturbing. Rats given access to a lever that stimulated their dopamine circuits kept pressing it obsessively, ignoring food, water, and even sleep, until they collapsed from exhaustion. Why? Because they weren't pursuing a reward. They were addicted to the chase. Now replace the rats with humans. We scroll through feeds not for joy, but for the hope of joy. We imagine success more vividly than we ever feel it. We seek likes, praise, status, not because they complete us, but because they reset the craving cycle. And when the goal is reached, that burst of thrill evaporates. Fast. You buy the car. It's thrilling for a few days, then it's just a car. You achieve the milestone. Applause fades, the mind mutters, "What's next?" This isn't a malfunction. It's the system doing exactly what it evolved to do. Your brain, built for survival in dangerous, uncertain environments, isn't designed for peace. It's designed to keep you hungry, constantly scanning for threats, opportunities, advantages. And so dopamine evolved not to reward satisfaction, but to reward the possibility of future gain. It keeps you moving. It tells your nervous system, keep hunting, keep proving, keep becoming. But in the modern world, where actual survival is no longer at stake, that ancient mechanism has been hijacked by marketers, by social media, by our own unresolved identities. And so we live in a dopamine-driven loop. See something desirable. Crave it, chase it, get it, feel bored, repeat. This is known as the hedonic treadmill, a psychological curse in which every gain becomes the new baseline. No matter how far you run, you remain emotionally in place. Desire is not innocent. It's neurological programming with a purpose you don't control. And unless you become aware of it, you become its servant. You'll keep climbing ladders that lead nowhere. You'll keep chasing highs that vanish the moment they're touched. You'll keep thinking fulfillment is just around the corner, when in fact it's a moving target designed to stay ahead of you. And all the while, the system inside your skull will whisper, "Keep going, just one more, you're almost there." But you're not. Because in a dopamine-dominated mind, there is no arrival, only the next craving. And until you see through this illusion, your entire life becomes a performance for a reward that doesn't exist. So ask yourself, are you truly living? Or are you just pressing the lever over and over again, hoping this time it will mean something? Once you understand this, not intellectually but viscerally, a door opens. You stop chasing, you start seeing, and for the first time, you can choose to be free. Desire is never really about the object. It's about the story your mind tells you, a subtle internal script that loops beneath your awareness, shaping what you crave, why you chase, and how you suffer. Behind every desire is a silent belief. Once I get this, I'll finally be enough. Once I achieve this, I'll finally be safe. Once I become this, I'll finally be loved. These are not aspirations. These are psychological traps, baited with false promises, reinforced by fear, and animated by the ego. The ego, your constructed identity, built from memory, comparison, and imagination, cannot survive the present moment. It lives entirely in projection, in who you should be, could be, must become. It builds an ideal self, a glittering, airbrushed version of you, and then condemns your current self for not being it. You're not there yet. Keep pushing, keep suffering, keep proving. And so begins the lifelong chase, not toward a goal, but away from your own perceived insufficiency. You start believing that peace is conditional, that wholeness is somewhere in the future, that you will be worthy, eventually. But eventually never arrives. Here's the devastating truth. You're always almost, never now. This is the tyranny of becoming, the psychological machinery that keeps you grinding toward a finish line that doesn't exist. Every time you get closer to the image of the ideal self, it morphs, it updates, it raises the bar, it whispers, not quite, keep going. This isn't growth, it's identity addiction. You become attached not just to achieving things, but to becoming someone you never quite are. And with every unmet expectation, your current self becomes the villain, insufficient, flawed, unworthy. This loop has no end because it was never meant to end. It is a psychological survival system, not a liberation mechanism. Your mind believes that if it can control the future self, through pressure, self-judgment, and ambition, it can finally protect you from vulnerability, rejection, or death. So it feeds you illusions of transformation, that if you get richer, you'll be secure, that if you look better, you'll be loved, that if you succeed enough, the void will close. But none of it works, because the problem isn't you, it's the premise. You were never broken. You were just taught to believe that wholeness lives somewhere else. The moment you expose this mechanism, really see it, without judgment, the spell begins to break. You realize that you've spent years punishing yourself for being human. The ideal self was never salvation. It was a mirror made of smoke, reflecting nothing but your conditioned shame. You're not there yet, the mind repeats. But what if there doesn't exist? What if the real freedom isn't in becoming, but in no longer needing to? What if all desire is simply the mind trying to escape the unbearable truth that you are already whole, but forgot how to feel it? Desire is not original, it pretends to be yours, but it was planted, infected, passed down like a virus. You think you want something because it reflects your truth, but look closer. Beneath that want is not a personal need. It's a social echo, the residue of someone else's hunger. This is the essence of René Girard's mimetic theory. Human desire is not born, it is borrowed. We don't desire objects. We desire the experience we believe others are having with those objects. Not the car, but the admiration. Not the partner, but the validation. Not the wealth, but the illusion of being untouchable. We mimic, not because we're weak, but because we are social creatures wired to survive through imitation. And in a world built on images, imitation becomes madness. It begins innocently. A friend reaches a new level of success. A stranger shines in a way that threatens your reflection. A person you never met becomes an icon of the life you don't have. Suddenly, you feel incomplete, not because anything changed within you, but because your internal measurement shifted. You saw someone else want something, and now you need it too. Not for the object, but for the imagined feeling it promises. If they have it, they must feel safe. If I get it, I'll feel worthy too. But the feeling never arrives, because it was never real. It was projected, chased, and hollow. This mimetic loop creates a psychological war zone. We want to be desirable, not because we feel lovable, but because we saw others being adored and confused it for salvation. We want to win, not because there is a finish line, but because we fear being invisible in a race no one remembers starting. We want to shine, not to express light, but to silence the terror of being forgettable. And so the self becomes performative, a curated identity, an avatar of approval. You smile to be admired, you post to be envied, you achieve to silence the voice that says you're behind. This is not ambition, this is spiritual panic dressed in confidence. In this world, status becomes a god. It demands sacrifice, worship, obedience. You trade your time, your soul, your silence for symbols. Numbers on a screen, logos on your body, faces in your feed pretending to live the life you're dying to imitate. But no one is winning, because everyone is chasing what the other appears to have. It's a hall of mirrors, and no one remembers how to look inward. Comparison turns desire into addiction, You're no longer seeking fulfillment. You're seeking relief from inadequacy. And since worth is now external, dependent on trends, likes, glances, you become emotionally fragile, easily manipulated, constantly hungry. Self-worth becomes a currency, and the market is unstable. Your value fluctuates based on what others achieve, or pretend to. And the worst part? You start forgetting what you even wanted in the first place. To free yourself from mimetic madness, you must begin with radical questioning. Who taught me this desire? When did I start measuring myself through other people's wins? What do I think this will prove? And to whom? Desire loses its power the moment it is seen clearly, because true freedom is not in getting what others have. It's in remembering what you never needed in the first place. You don't envy their life. You envy the illusion of certainty you think they feel. But they are just as lost, just as haunted, chasing someone else's shadow, just like you. The real disease isn't envy. It's forgetting that the only thing worth becoming is yourself, fully, and no one else can model that for you. Before neuroscience, there was awareness. Long before Freud mapped the unconscious, before Jung explored the shadow, before dopamine was traced in brain scans, there was a man under a tree, sitting, breathing, seeing. And what he saw, the world still resists. Desire is the root of suffering. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. This isn't a metaphor, it's not a moral code or religious dogma. It's a clinical diagnosis of the human mind, a spiritual science of psychology, without instruments but with profound precision. In Buddhist psychology, tanha, often translated as craving, is more than lust, greed, or addiction. It is resistance to the present moment. It is the refusal to accept what is, in favor of what might be. Tanha says, this now is not enough. This body is not enough. This life, this moment, this breath, not yet, not quite, just a bit more. And so we lean forward in time, chasing ghosts, rejecting reality under the disguise of hope. But what is hope when it means postponing peace? Every time we crave, we reject the now, and every time we fulfill that craving, another is born, stronger, more urgent, more convincing. This is samsara, the endless wheel of suffering, not a punishment, not a curse, just the natural consequence of mistaking desire for destiny. One more step and I'll finally be happy. One more achievement and I'll be enough. One more lover and I'll finally feel whole. But the wheel doesn't stop, because you are the wheel when you remain unconscious. Every next is a repetition. Every goal is a rebranded escape. Every new desire is just the old fear wearing a new face. And all the while, the moment you are living, the only moment that's real, is quietly erased. Most people don't recognize desire because it dresses well. It looks like ambition. It calls itself romance. It markets itself as hope. But hope, in the Buddhist lens, is not always light. Sometimes it is the spiritual name of avoidance. It postpones peace. It denies now. Because to hope for a better future often means to quietly reject the truth of what is. Your body, your breath, your silence. And the truth is, this is it. This moment, broken, beautiful, unpolished, is all there is. Not because there's nothing else to strive for, but because nothing else will complete you. To break the wheel of suffering is not to kill desire, but to see through it, to act without attachment, to move without becoming, to love without needing, to strive without believing it will save you. This is not numbness, this is awakening. It is the shift from craving to clarity, from addiction to action, from illusion to intimacy with reality. Peace comes not when desire is fulfilled, but when it is no longer needed. The Buddha was not telling you to sit still and give up. He was telling you to stop outsourcing your wholeness to the next goal, the next lover, the next self-improvement scheme, because none of it can touch you until you touch this moment completely. And in that space, silent, unchased, undesired, you realize something terrifying and beautiful. You were never broken. You were just distracted. If desire is the root of suffering, then it becomes the perfect tool for domination. Because what is more effective than controlling someone's painful need to feel whole? You don't need chains when you can control what someone craves. You don't need a cage when the prisoner keeps chasing the key. The modern world has discovered this truth and monetized it. Institutions have studied it and sanctified it. Predators have mastered it and disguised it as love. Desire is no longer just your suffering, it's their strategy. You're told it's just marketing, just product design, just entertainment. But it's not. It's neurological warfare. Every scroll, every ad, every perfect body, every lifestyle video, Each one is engineered to deliver a whisper into your subconscious. You are not enough. You're behind. You should be more by now. But don't worry, we can help. The system doesn't want to satisfy you. It wants to perpetually agitate you. Why? Because a peaceful human doesn't buy. A content human doesn't chase. A whole human doesn't obey. So they hack your brain's dopaminergic circuitry, flooding it with false promises and unreachable ideals. You keep reaching, you keep spending, you keep suffering, and they keep profiting. This isn't capitalism. This is weaponized insecurity, a silent global campaign to convince you that your salvation lies in their product, their platform, their religion, their identity. Desire becomes a leash, and you're the one tightening it. But it doesn't stop with marketing. Desire becomes even more insidious in human relationships, especially where trust and vulnerability are involved. In toxic dynamics, with lovers, gurus, cult leaders, even parents, the most powerful form of control isn't violence. It's withholding. A compliment, then silence. A kiss, then distance. A promise, then disappearance. This is intermittent reinforcement, a psychological strategy proven to create addiction, not to pleasure, but to the possibility of it returning. You're not addicted to love, you're addicted to the craving for its return. The brain, confused and starved, spikes in dopamine during moments of scarcity, not satisfaction. So the less they give you, the more you need them. The less they love you, the more you beg. This is not affection. This is bondage by design. The abuser becomes a god, the source of your suffering and the illusion of its cure. They break you and you chase them for relief. This isn't love, it's psychological captivity. The darkest psychology doesn't force you. It invites you to hurt yourself. It dangles relief like a carrot and then watches you run. The greatest power is not in what they give you, it's in what they make you crave. And the cruelest part? You believe it's you. You believe it's your need. You believe you're not enough and that they are the answer. But they never were. They just knew how to speak to the wound you never healed. Desire becomes control the moment it operates unconsciously. When you're unaware of the mechanism, you are the puppet. But the moment you see the strings, you are no longer the toy. Ask yourself, who benefits from me craving this? Who profits from my shame? Who taught me this was love? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And in that moment of clarity, your hunger no longer owns you. They controlled you through what you wanted. But now, you've remembered something deeper. You were never broken, just conditioned to believe you were. Can one live entirely free of desire? Perhaps not, but one can liberate the self from unconscious craving. There's a difference between desire and intention. Desire says, I lack. I need this to be whole. Intention says, I am whole. I move because it is true. When we act from clarity, we create. When we act from craving, we escape. To live well is not to be numb. It is to stop needing your future to save you. The fine line between movement and madness. Can one live entirely free of desire? The monks say yes. The mystics say yes. The nervous system may not agree. To exist is to move. To move is to aim. To aim is to want. Something somewhere, somehow. But this raises a subtle, haunting paradox. If desire is the root of suffering, and yet motion is part of life, is it possible to move without being enslaved by the need to arrive? The answer is not to silence all wanting. The answer is to purify the source. There is a sacred distinction most never notice. Desire says, I lack, I need, I must become more to feel enough. Intention says, I am whole, I choose. I move because this moment is aligned with what I know. One chases, the other expresses. One seeks escape, the other embodies truth. One binds, the other frees. You can feel the difference in your body. When you act from desire, there's tightness, pressure, fear disguised as ambition. When you act from intention, there's clarity, groundedness, action without desperation. Desire is rooted in identity anxiety. Intention is born of inner alignment. One says, if I get there, I will be okay. The other says, I am okay, and this is where I choose to go. Some try to kill desire altogether, to burn it out, to numb themselves into nothingness. But this is not liberation, it is repression. To live well is not to kill motion. It is to move without confusion. Desire becomes suffering only when it masquerades as salvation. It becomes dangerous only when it claims that peace is elsewhere. In another job, another body, another partner, another version of you. But peace was never there. Peace is the background. Desire is the noise that drowns it. And when the noise quiets, even for a moment, you begin to sense something deeper than craving, a current of being that does not chase but knows. This is the paradoxical freedom. You can move, act, build, strive without believing it will save you. You can start a business without needing it to define your worth, fall in love without expecting it to complete you, create art without demanding it be understood. This is the path of the integrated self, fully alive yet not entangled, engaged with the world yet not hypnotized by it. You do not renounce desire, you see through its disguise, and you choose intention instead. The silent flame that burns without consuming. The deepest maturity is not the absence of desire, it is the presence of awareness beneath it. Knowing when you're moving from fear and choosing not to. Knowing when you're chasing to be enough and letting go. Knowing that your value was never negotiable in the first place. You are not here to be saved by your future. You are here to remember that nothing was missing to begin with. And when that realization lands, not as a concept but as a truth in your bones, every step forward becomes a form of grace, not escape. What you crave reveals what you fear. You have arrived at the edge, not of a conclusion, but of a mirror. The reflection staring back is not your face, it's your desire. And the real question is, who put it there? Desire doesn't come alone. It arrives with a voice, a whisper stitched from childhood wounds, social comparisons, ancestral shame, and cultural hypnosis. So pause, look inward, and ask yourself, who taught me that I need this to be whole? Was it a parent who only showed pride when I achieved? Was it a culture that defined beauty through suffering? Was it a world that told me success equals survival? Is this desire mine, or a voice I inherited, unquestioned? Is it my longing, or someone else's projection? Is it truth, or advertising disguised as identity? Am I chasing freedom, or just trying to escape the discomfort of meeting myself? Am I building or hiding, loving or attaching, growing or fleeing? Most people don't want the truth. They want relief. Fast, shallow, temporary. The next scroll, the next high, the next partner, the next version of themselves that will finally feel enough. They trade awakening for stimulation. They choose the firework over the flame. But you're still here. That means you are different. You're not addicted to comfort. You're addicted to clarity. You're not here to feel good. You're here to see what is real, even if it burns, because you've tasted the lie. And now, you want to find out what's behind the mask. Desire wears many faces. It can look like love, like purpose, like peace. But when you look deeper, you find it's often just the fear of emptiness dressed in ambition, the terror of stillness disguised as drive. And yet, when you do look deeper, something shifts. You begin to notice that your most painful desires are not enemies, but messengers, that every unmet craving carries a mirror asking, what do you think this will fix? That every fulfilled desire is a test. Can you let go now, or will you cling to the next? And in this light, you stop running, you start listening, you stop chasing, you start integrating. Because now you know your desires are not the problem. Your unconscious worship of them is. You are not the hunger. You are not the projection. You are not the restless voice that says, soon I'll be enough. You are the space behind it, the witness, the presence that dares to observe without reacting. And in that space, that pause, that sacred stillness where wanting dissolves, you meet yourself, not as a seeker, not as a dreamer, but as something eternal, that no desire could ever complete because it was never broken. What you're really seeking, through love, through success, through pleasure, is peace with yourself. But that peace cannot be found in the future. It can only be uncovered beneath the layers of craving that keep you spinning. The truth? You don't need more to be free. You need less illusion. Once you see this, not as an idea, but as a cellular truth, the chain snaps. You don't kill desire, you see through it. And what remains is not emptiness, but presence, silent, whole, unshakable.